Now!
Hello, this programme is about our fabulous FoKAB 40 celebration. It has two main elements. After a quick introduction from me, you'll hear our president, Richard Chisnell, grandson of the founder of King Alfred Motor Services, proposing the toast of the Friends of King Alfred Buses. And we move on to a presentation, which was an amazing collection of the first 10 years of FoKAB from 1985 to 1995. It's quite a roller coaster of a show. Welcome! And thank you very much. There's 61 of you tonight, so it's wonderful to see you, and thank you so much for coming. So now, tonight is a birthday party. It's a bit of a celebration, and it's a wonder to see you all here to share it with us. Now, we have a fine buffet here, which is open for you in just a minute or two. I'm not going to stand between you and your buffet for very long at all. You will have seen, if you walked around this way, there is the most amazing cake over here, which Catherine here has been in charge of managing since quite a long time ago, actually, and we're going to dive into that later. But it's there to look at in the meantime. I always think it's a pity with these cakes to cut them, actually, don't you? So we could just take it all home and bring it back next week. But on second thoughts, let's eat it tonight. So that's very good. Now, we are just about to begin, but a couple of things to say. There is a film show rolling, but at the end of this evening, we will actually show the film show properly. Darken the lights and look at it, because it's been prepared for us by Melvyn. Melvyn, where are you? Melvyn is one of our earliest members, and he has put together an amazing array of 139, so there's plenty of them, pictures from the first 10 years of Friends of King Alfred Buses. And I must say that looking through them this week to put them onto the PowerPoint, they are amazing. Some of them are just simply amazing to remember what was done in the early years when we didn't know that we were going to be still here in 2025. So that's astonishing, isn't it? Anyway, off you go, folks. Thank you very much. Right. Without any more ado, I would like to present to you Richard Chisnell, President of the Friends of King Alfred Buses.
Thank you so much, everybody. I don't have a speech. And you said 25 minutes.
25 minutes, yes, at least, or 3 hours.
I speak from the heart, because this is a birthday party, as James told us at the start. Can you hear me at the back? Yes. I've got new hearing aids. I can hear myself. It sounds very tinny. And after such a wonderful day today, you're to be congratulated, because it was so nice to see the fleet in fulsome parade, all the buses there, one or two dripping with joy, I noticed. Skillfully maintained by the team. And of course, the Friends of King Alfred, as King Alfred Motor Services was all those years ago, it's almost as long you've been going since as the company itself. You realize that, don't you? I'm sure. 40 years, I think the company was only 53. I joined only in 1970 because my father, Mr. Fred, said, not a future in buses, go away and earn a living. So I joined Mr. Cadbury at Bourneville as a management trainee in 1961 and met my lovely wife over the conching machine, and if you've ever been to Cadbury. Actually, it was in the Overseas Secretariat. And so that's how we got together. So thank you for that, Dad. But you are to be congratulated for the tradition of the family business was one of loyalty, long service. I have very happy memories of so many of the team that worked at King Alfred, even in the years 70 to 73, the last few years, because we were in South Africa trying to earn a living, and I felt a bit guilty and came back and helped Father in those last few years, and my Uncle Bob. And I should just inform you, for those who live locally and might read the Chronicle, you might have seen me opening the Abbey Gardens toilets in the Broadway, because I got stuck in the toilet after I left R. Chisnell and Sons, and joined a company called Initial in Chandler's Ford, and that's how I got involved in hygiene services. And there is a link. Sorry to bore you with the details, but the link is when Bob and Fred had retired, Bob said to me, "You've joined Initial." He didn't know I had. Although we were very close neighbours, we rarely saw one another, different families, cousins. He said, when BET, British Electric Traction, of which Initial was mainly owned by BET, when they wanted to buy King Alfred in the 50s, late 50s, they offered me a directorship with Initial as a sweetener. So there we go, full circle. So that was that little story.
They didn't buy it though, did they?
No, they didn't. No, the National Bus Company. Anyway, that's another story. But I just, on behalf of the family, pay a tribute at this birthday party, 40 years on from when you got going. I know you've had changes in charitable status and so on, for all that you've done. I'm not sure there'd be another group like this in the UK. I know there are lots of buses being preserved and restored, and I think 10,000, James told us earlier today. And but there are not many groups that have the energy and the connection in a cathedral city like Winchester. So you are to be congratulated. And I represent the rest of the family. Obviously, cousin Robert, who was involved for more years than me. He died last year, wasn't it?
2 years ago.
2 years ago already. Good God, life flies by. My sister Jenny, the governor had three children, Bob, Fred and Evie, and they each had a boy and a girl. And the three girls are still going. Delia, cousin Delia and Anne are now 90. My sister is not 90 yet.
26.
But she's a bit older than me.
27.
And I'm the only surviving grandson. So the family is fading away, and that's the way of the world. And really, it's now all about Friends of King Alfred. I just like the trustees to stand up, James.
Yes, that's a very good idea.
Trustees, could you stand up? Yes. Because James obviously is the driving force here, but the team of trustees, are they all standing?
No, Roger hasn't stood up yet.
Yeah.
There should be 8 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah,
well done.
All attending.
This is an amazing team that is driving this charity onwards and upwards. And every time there's a problem, you only find a solution. You only see opportunity. And the brick walls that were there, you knock them down. So you will succeed in restoring 708 again. You will succeed in finding a home and a museum. It's going to cost money, of course, but that's all part of the fun of it. So I congratulate you on behalf of the family. We are proud to be associated with you, those of us remaining, We won't be here forever, but you have already established yourselves as a heritage organisation in Winchester, and the mayor spent 2 hours here today, and mayoress, and the leader of the council was here today, and they have a clear message that you need a home and that the future is bright, and Winchester needs FoKAB as much as FoKAB needs money and support. So let's hope it all works out, and congratulations to you all for doing what you're doing. And thank you, trustees, and James, for all that you've done. I'm going to ask you now to raise your glass. You don't have to stand unless you want to. Trustees, you can sit if you want. We know who you are. And I'm going to propose a toast to the team, the Friends of King Alfred. Long may you continue. Thank you so much from our hearts.
Friends of King Alfred buses.
Friends of King Alfred buses.
As they say, bravo, and thank you very much indeed, Richard, for all those kind words. And we are celebrating today. It is incredible that 40 years ago we were starting on this road. And there are some people here who were at that first meeting on the 31st of May 1985, and if they would like to wave or stand, that would be rather good. So if you were here at the first meeting, there's a waver here. Yes, 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 there, look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So not that many. Wonderful. It was your vision, folks, that helped to launch this whole thing. And I don't know whether you or I or any of us really believed that in 40 years' time we would not only still be doing this, but actually have managed to corner every single King Alfred bus known to man, and indeed created a couple more just for good measure. So yes, yes. I think we've probably got to the end of the road, really, in terms of more buses. That there is a limit to what we can do. But you have seen today out there how we can actually put all this fleet out for people to enjoy. And the looks on the people's faces is always what makes it worthwhile, because it's the feedback from folk. We don't do this just for us. We do it for ourselves, of course we do, but we do it also for all the other people. And that's why we are entitled, I think, reasonably, to go to people and say, we need your money. And over the years, folks, we have actually been really successful in parting company from their cash, people from their cash. We have, we have an organisation now that turns over about 75,000 quid a year, right? So that's an astonishing number when you think about it. It's all made up of 5pences and 10pences. No, it's a little bit more than that. But, you know, just to keep the show on the road. And we do have some very serious challenges, one of which is our gypsy-like existence moving from one lease to the next. And we've just had a kick in the teeth with the notice to quit Chilcombe, where we've been for since 2011. A shame, a disappointment, a shock even. But as Richard says, we don't let that get to us. We'll get over it. And indeed, we have got over it, in as much as, thanks to William Staniforth, one of our most recent trustees, we have actually found ourselves another place to park our fleet. Not a workshop, but a place where everything can safely be stowed. So we are not out on the streets come the 20th of July, albeit it's not quite so close in, because Chilcombe was really well positioned. But who knows how things are going to evolve and what opportunities will come. So that's that. The other thing, of course, that you mentioned, Richard, was 708. Now, the 708 debacle, if you like, having spent so much energy and time and effort and love creating 708, for it to be grabbed from us and more or less destroyed, not quite destroyed, but very badly damaged, was a terrible thing to happen. But being the Friends of King Alfred buses, it didn't take us long to conclude that we don't take no for an answer. We just don't take no for an answer. And so the job of putting 708 back together again is one we have taken on with alacrity, and we are tackling it. Now, today, 31st of May, 40 years from our birth, we are launching the 708 appeal to raise £500,000, not from you, ladies and gentlemen, because you're already giving so much, but from those people out there who support what we're doing. And there are many people. We cut above our weight. We are only in Winchester, but everybody knows about the Friends of King Alfred buses, and everybody knows about the Olympic out there, wide across the bus world. And we have to motivate those people to put their hand in their pocket and help us to produce. Now, there is some news from the 708 front to encourage us as we go. Two things have happened in the last few months that have radically changed our chances. The first is the fact that the blueprint drawings for the Leyland Olympic vehicle from MCW, the manufacturer, have all emerged, and we have them all at our disposal. And they have gone to Scotland following the bus, and Andy Crockett, our expert there, is using them, already starting to use them, to create the future of our vehicle. Now, he has teamed up with a Scotsman, not surprisingly, they're all Scots up there, have you noticed that? Whose name is Callum Melrose. And Callum is an expert in computer-aided design at University of Edinburgh and a massive bus griser, I must say. Look at Callum Melrose on Flickr and you'll end up with millions and millions of pictures of buses, of course. So Callum Melrose is currently engaged in taking the flat plans that we have all on a computer now and turning them into 3D CAD, computer-aided design plans, which means that we can get all the bits that we need for the bus constructed, created for us. We can get the metal extruded and all the rest of it. So that's a huge step in the right direction. And Andy Crockett said to me last night, "It is my aim," he said, "and you can share this with your colleagues, that we will have a rolling basis of our vehicle by Christmas 2025. So that is an astonishing thing, propelled along by the fact that we managed to acquire a chassis from a Leyland Royal Tiger, 1953. That vehicle has no usable body, so that's been rescued out of a farm near Aberdeen. The body has been stripped off it now, and the bits are all available to us to help the Olympic along its way. And that is really, really, really good news. And so there is a lot working for us. So even though we appear to have an impossibly huge target, I remember, and we'll see in a minute in Melvyn's pictures, the day when the Dennis appeared in the Aldridge's sale room catalogue at 28,000 quid for the Dennis. And we had in the past managed the odd 1,000 here, 1,000 there, and suddenly somebody was wanting 28,000. Now, we didn't buy it for 28,000, we managed to get it down to 14. But we raised 14 grand, and we were able to acquire the Dennis. Now, we've forgotten that now, don't we? Don't go around saying we paid 14,000 quid for that. Although I do tell people the story, and particularly the fact that the people who wanted the money said, "We want it, please, in £5 notes, brackets used." So, now, in 1992, you could go to the Midland Bank in Winchester High Street and say, "I want 14,000 quid in used fivers, please. Here's my suitcase." And they said, "Just wait a minute and we'll fill it up for you." I mean, it's unbelievable. Now you'd think it was that you go straight to the police, wouldn't you? I mean, you just wouldn't even think about it. So the wild and the crazy is what we do. And so a £500,000 appeal sounds completely outlandish, doesn't it? But it's not impossible. We just need to convince quite a few people to put their hands in their pockets. And there are people out there, ladies and gentlemen, for whom the odd 50 grand is neither here nor there. And actually, they're the ones we want. And I want to say to everybody, Sometimes we are asked to ask you to change your wills, to put us into your will, to leave us money. I say to you, don't wait until you're dead, folks. Give us the money now, because you might as well enjoy the outcome of it, yes? It doesn't, and when you listen to it in that way, it sounds obvious, doesn't it? I mean, why would you sit on it when you could give it to us? So this is going to happen, ladies and gentlemen. It is going to happen. Believe me, we will have the Olympic back, and Ruth will be able to get on it again and say, well, I did this the first time, and we've had to do it a second time. But we are going to win that battle if it's the last thing we do, and it isn't going to be the last thing we do, I do assure you. So you get the drift, boys and girls, yeah? We mean business. And people know that we mean business, and that's what sets us apart from the others. And you were looking for the single thing, and we have many other features, one of which is the great relationship that we have with the family. And I think it is. Today, I've been taking people around all day, and we look at the buses and we say, look at this wonderful statue on the side. And this is a private, family-owned company, the only one in Britain to run a municipal local service in the way that was done. And we have managed, we have actually succeeded in keeping that all on the map. Yep. So that's pretty good, isn't it? So I think you need to give yourselves all a round of applause. Come on. And so my job is to make you, ask you, I mean, you know, entreat you, I suppose, to raise your glasses and drink a toast to those of us tonight who are our guests. And there are quite a few people who have come as extra people. And without our guests, we couldn't function. I mean, the dog, for example, you're a guest, aren't you? Yeah, so we drink to all of you, and we drink again to the Friends of King Alfred buses, of course, because every time we get the chance to do that, that's what we do. Ladies and gentlemen, our guests, coupled with the Friends of King Alfred buses, thank you.
Okay.
Right, good.
Who's going to cut it?
So, Melvyn was our great photographer in the early days of our pictures. We're going to turn this off and it'll be more visible. But you have a picture here taken, actually, funnily enough, in the city of Bath. And it's 104, of course, the bus that started everything. And next to it is 592, which, of course, is part of our fleet now. But in those days, was operating for Badger Line. And as you can see, has no lid on it. And this is a picture of 103. This is the bus that we didn't keep. And this came from a chap called Mr. Goddard Fenwick. Okay, so 103 was one of these places where this bus was a horse box, and we tried to buy it, and we were well on the way, but it got stolen by the gypsies, and we had to go and buy it back for £100, by which time they'd ripped out the inside of it, so it wasn't worth having, really. And what we decided to do in the end was, this is the back of 104 and 103, and here we are driving it away. It drove all right from Hounslow, where it was at the time, to a scrapyard in Alton, where we set to work and we fixed it there. And by fixing it, we meant we took it to bits. Then that's 595, which at the time had been restored by the Oxford Bus Museum, not by us at all. But they did ask us what it looked like, or should look like. That's 104. And that's 104 on the very first running day, March, in fact, 1983. And that is at the Rack and Manger. And look at the frost. It was bloody freezing, it was. It was absolutely bloody freezing. And there's Blondie sitting in the front seat. She was the conductress for the day. Look at the ice all over it. There we are at Flower Down, outside Eve's stores. And that was the very first running day of just 104. And here is a fine conductor, Mr. Ian Sawyer, one of our inaugural members, and there he is, ready to do battle. Notice the gloves, and here we have a lineup in the Broadway with the bus number 2. That's our Leyland Atlantin. We'll come back to that in a minute. And this is a coach that we borrowed, it belonged to one of our members, Keith Morton, and we went to Bournemouth in it to replicate the first outing of the King Alfred in 1922. Long, long before we realised we were going to have coaches of our own that would do that. And here's 103 in the scrapyard. Looks sad, doesn't it? Now, today, we wouldn't have broken it up had we known what we knew. If we know then what we know now, we'd have kept it. But bits from this bus have kept many of our other buses going, so it's not a complete disaster. And here is Melvyn. There he is, the young chap that he is, on 103, which is on its way to destruction, as you can see. Now, yes. And here is a group of us looking at the, staring at it in the way that we do quite often, actually. We do quite a lot of staring at things. That's the inside of 103. Doesn't it look inviting? And here is a whole group of renegades. Quite a few of this are in the room today, actually. You got Rodney, he's here. We got Ian. We got Nigel Barnes-Evans, but we won't say anything about him. We got Andrew Gilmore, who is at the back of the room, and Chris Kent, who is ditto. So that's pretty good, isn't it? And here is two Leyland Nationals, although there's something very odd with the colour, because the one on the left is actually red on my computer. I can't remember why that happens. But anyway, there you are. That's 104 pretending to be a real bus. Here it is at a rally. Here it is. Then we got 326, which came from the majorettes in Totton. And of course, it was in the collars of porters of Dummer, blue. And there was somebody came to me today and said, if I paid you lots of money, would you paint it blue again? Well, do you know what? Could do, couldn't we? If the money's good. Here it is in the Broadway. Looks quite nice. Yeah. And then here's the start of the open toppers. This is 590. Now this, of course, is still an open topper, as you know, but at the time, running for Badgerline. And here we have 419, sitting in Swansea in Morriston. There it is in the middle, left-hand side. And this bus was still owned by D. Corchez. And this is the man, when I rang him up and said, could we hire this bus? He said, I won't hire it to you, but I'll sell it to you, if you like. And when we discussed the price, he said, I'm not a charity, Mr. Freeman. There you are. And here is two of our buses, look, 417 and 418, before 418 caught fire. This is in Morriston. That is 418 in Swansea, outside the Dragon Hotel. Yeah, very nice. And here, it's red on here. It's not on there. I don't know what's the matter with that, but anyway, there we go. It's strange. I don't know why that is. There's another city triangle in Swansea. Not very exciting. Here's 418 to prove it had a fire. Look, they're all black. Little do they know what fires were going to mean to us later on, but that's beside the point. And then the other one was 417. Here it is on the left of this lot. Of course, the last bus that Richard drove into the shed on 28th of April, 73. Here we are. We owned 418 for one day. And we bought it in the morning, we stripped it for bits, and we sold it in the afternoon for more than we bought it for. So there you are. Here we have Mr. David Smith with the bits of 418. Chris Kent on the left. Rather good, don't you think? And we haven't really seen this yet, but that's 591, which of course we had a lot of fun with that because when I bought it, it had been lying on its side, but it had been fixed. It was never quite right, which is in the end why we disposed of it. Here we are in the Winchester Carnival. There's 104. Here we are making money. There's Mr. David Smith again, right there, collecting money. Then as now. That's 591 from the back. Here's 592 coming in on a special visit from Bath. And here it is with trouble. Oil dribbling out of it. And there's Tony Pinnock. Remember him?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, sonner, he's saying, look, there's oil on their floor there. Now, the thing about Tony Pinnock, he was a great guy, but he would always spoonerize the numbers. So he'd always say 695 instead of 596. And that was lovely when he got to the Hanson Dorset numbers, which were 2212 and 2201. And if you got them all mixed up, you got in a terrible muddle. But anyway, there you are. And here we are going up Magdalen Hill, 591. Here it is in Oliver's Battery, Farley Close. And here we have the Tiger Cub in the days when it was single green, more modern livery. And here Melvyn thought we ought to see where some of these buses fetched up. And this is a scrapyard in Yorkshire. Nice, isn't it? And there's a typical scrap bus, just to cheer you up. And there he found a King Alfred statue hacked off a bus. This is in Yorkshire. So they liked it so much they kept the statue. And then, of course, 596, which came back from America. Here it is being towed back from, where did it go to? Sheerness, thank you, that's right. And this is somewhere between the M25 and Winchester. It's been an overnight journey. Here it is, alongside. Look at the state of it. This bus was fixed in 3 months. Here it is, arrived in the Broadway. Here it is, looking a bit sad. Here it is, beginning to look a bit better. And here it is, all painted up, actually. And then here, it isn't at all. That's 591. And then there it is in the background, because this is 419. We just bought this bus from Darrell Davis. I'm not a charity. What he didn't tell us was that the back axle was in bits. And if you, as long as you drove it, it didn't do anything terrible. But if you let the power off, it all started rumbling and crapping. Here's 596 at Shawford Station. It's just dropped Victor Meldrew, and it's just going to turn around and go back. So here it is 3 months after it came from America. So that was 1989, I think. Here is that Panther full of people in Stanmore, just turning into Wavell Way. And here is very important looking people. This is Friends of King Alfred Buses stall. You see, even then we were talking about the early days, and that was in 1989 or something. Ian on the left, Dave Smith, and the great Tony Pinnock. And 590 we lent to the Provincial Bus Company, and so here it is on the seafront at Southsea. I think that's probably Clarence Pier. And I remember that it was used for training, and one driver was just in the middle of his test, and the back axle failed as he went round a corner. And he got off the bus and ran away. But there you are. Here's 419 now being dolled up in our splendid workshops. Look at the roof out at Flexford. But it was fun there, actually. Surprisingly good. And that's what finished, look, with the statue not yet properly on. That's in Whitchurch Square. Ready to go. Here's a picture. We didn't know then what Hunton was going to mean to us later. This is at Stoke Charity. That's 104. And here's 419 looking all lovely in Stanmore. And here's 591 coming through. Remember, bottoms up? Yeah, there it is.
Cycle company.
Yes, now, and then this, of course, is 708, just after it was delivered. And as you can see, BIC 671 it says on it. And it looked a bit of a wreck, doesn't it? It hasn't had the roof treatment yet. And there it is inside. Look, the dustbin was handy, wasn't it? Bit of a mess, really, one way or another. But there we go. On we go. And then it was time to fix the Tiger Cub. So in 1992, it was all hands to the pump to clean it all off and get it repanelled and resorted. It now needs doing again, boys and girls. But 1992, I remind you, is 33 years ago. Let's move on. And then here we are working on it. That's Ken Shackleton. Here it is at Flexford in the workshop. Here it is getting ready. And then we got to buy 417. And it came from a firm somewhere in Sussex, rather curiously. And we hadn't only just bought that when we got this one, which is 592, of course. Come from Baseline. And here's 104 with Peter Sincock at the wheel. He was the traffic manager's eldest son. Very sadly died of a heart attack. But he was a great member of ours when he was a member. There's 417 now in poppy red in in East Stratton, I beg your pardon. East Stratton. And here's 590 again in a different colour scheme at Clarence Pier. All bright and sunny. Nice picture of Pete Staples winning something with 104. And it says the bus is built in 1959, which is quite right. Okay, here we are at the top of Stanmore Lane, 419, 104 in the background. We're starting to talk about fleets now. 596 at Didcot, I think. Yeah, and this is here we have the Titan starting to arrive. This one is still running. It hasn't got leaking radiator like another one I can think about. But this is one half of the Titan. This is actually the one that Anne, this is seriously Anne's bus. So we got Anne and Rob Newman in the background here, who were involved in this bus, well, Anne was, when it was a scout bus in Harrow on the Hill. And here it is at Barton Park, outside Jack's place, just about to be taken in for the weekend and painted. And here we are using Jack's facilities to paint the bus manually, and working away at it we are. And surprisingly successful, actually. Here it is done. It was just dropped over with green paint, but it looks quite nice, doesn't it? And here it is being driven out of the workshop to take back to wherever we were based at the time. And then here's the other one, MMN 11. They're the two Titans next to each other. They ended up being HOR 811. And on the right is 591. That was bus number 2 in the fleet. And it's just about to give up its roof to 592. And here is Ian and Keith Morton, actually, fitting new seats to 326. So, and here is 326 painted green, just come out of the paint shop, Jack's work. And here's the then mayor inaugurating it, Mr. Pinnock, counting up 236, 326. Don't know quite what it is. And on the left, John Halford, who was the guy who drove the last King Alfred coach into the depot, actually a minute or two after Richard drove 417 in. And look at 326, what a sight for sore eyes. Look at it, shining and shimmering. It doesn't quite look like that today. Nothing that 100,000 quid wouldn't solve, I always tell people. The two Panthers together, because of course we've got two. And here the Tiger Cub and the Panther meet in East Stratton. That was not true to reality. There never was two number 12s together. There we are. Two number 15s at this point. And here's the Friends of King Alfred buses again. Look, here's Joyce. Yeah. And in the middle, you've got Melvyn, you've got Keith, and Ian Scheuer. And the man on the left is one that I won't mention. He's a Scotsman. And here we are, unscrewing the top of 591. And here we have the two. We took our 596 to the Oxford Bus Museum where 595 was. It was the start of their thinking that perhaps we ought to be given 595, which of course we were eventually. And here we have 596 and a red bus sitting on Southsea Common. And here is our stall. Look at it doing roaring business. Look at all those backsides. Extraordinary, isn't it? Quite a funny picture. And here now we've got 592 with the roof of 591 on it. And remember that we sorted it as 591 on the left, 592 on the right. And what we've done was park the buses next to each other, release the roof from 591 and lift it across manually from one bus to the other. And it worked because it's done. And here we are in the Broadway with 596. And here's 592 with its new roof, all shiny and shimmering. Hasn't got the right registration yet, but looks the part, doesn't it? And here is 590, which in the meantime was on loan to LeisureLink. First of all in the southeast of England and latterly in South Wales. And then eventually they handed it back, and here it is in the bus station yard in Winchester. Here's 591 now, on its way to the Knackers yard. Looking rather the worse for wear, but the best value of all was that big front screen. All one piece, lovely piece of glass that is. You try replicating that, you'd have a bother. Oh, here it is moved on. This is us taking 591 to bits. As you can see, need a hard hat for that. Here is 419, very smoky. 104 in Crawley. And here is MMN 11. That's 1.5 of the 811 game before we turn it into a seat store at Flexford. Can't see this. And now it's been put into place at the back of the site, and we filled it with stuff. And it sat there for many years. Here we're in Barton Park, and you've got 595 on the right, and here's 592, beginning to look like it's a real bus. Jack would take it in, paint a bit, put it out again, and that's how it was done. Here it is in the workshop, in Jack's workshop, beginning to look like home. And here it is finished, City Road, and here's 493. Now this is the half of the Titan, and we remember that the man who gave us an MOT for this said only on condition that you board up the upstairs and no one can go up there. So no one can risk falling through the floor. And then the next year he gave us an MOT for one day and said bring it back and we'll tear it up afterwards. So here it is by the coach station here. And then in 1995, so we're right at the end of our 10-year session, we had the first time that the Victor came in Dave Hurley's hands, and we just acquired the Dennis. And this is and we were celebrating something. I can't remember what we'd be celebrating in 1995. 10 years perhaps. I don't know, can't remember. But anyway, here we are outside. We had a horse bus that year, and we discovered that horse buses produce a lot of shit. Didn't realise that before. Here we are at the Mildmay Arms. And the two renowns together, because by now we've been given 595, so we've got two of them. And this, of course, is the Stooge. This is the bus that the man in Augusta, Georgia said, when he said, you can have 494, but you have to bring another bus to my museum in Augusta, Georgia, and it needs to be green, and we need to take it across. And here it is standing alongside 494 in Augusta, Georgia, we having driven it from Winchester via Southampton, Jacksonville, Florida, and up to Augusta. And we deposited it there, and we were just being given 494, which was an absolute wreck, wasn't it, those of you who came with us? And we had to drive it down to Jacksonville, a 2-day drive, no MOTs, fortunately in Georgia. Didn't matter, because it was all falling to bits, this bus. And here we are fixing a bit of it, but there it was. And just a change of scene to remind you that in the middle of all this, they were building the M3. And this is at Hockley traffic lights, as they built a temporary tunnel. And that bus there is at Hampton Dorset. My God, a Hampton Dorset bus in a King Alfred show. There's a proper King Alfred run. That's at Compton on number 2. Doesn't look like that today in Compton. If you go there, doesn't look like that at all. And here's 494 back in Winchester and being reconstructed in our open air workshop. A job that was taken from 93 to 97 to complete. This is the front end of it. Here is, look at this, load of rubbish here, literally a load of rubbish. And there in the background is 708, still to be given attention, and 494 on the right, gaining its, getting ahead of it in the queue, really. Here's the Olympic with all its, in all its glory, before the first reconstruction. Here it is, a side view of it, looking rather sad. Another view, inside. And to cheer you up, here's 595, now repainted in the all-green livery that it ran in later years, and charging along to Ghost Corner to Hockley traffic lights. Nearly finished. Here we are at Fisher's Pond. Here's the Dennis whirling over Hazley, down, heading for Osselbury, a bit further along. So this is after its 14,000 quid in £5 notes. Here it is in Alton with 595, and the Dennis sitting in a rally somewhere. And here's Joyce in the middle, look. And I think there's various people in that picture, actually. Yeah, I can see Rodney. I can see the back of Chris. This is Brighton. This is the Brighton run. We had to get up at the crack of dawn to get on that. And here, the last picture in the lot is one that you might not have realised. This is a picture that Melvyn took on his television, got his camera out and photographed his television, because look what you see, that is the Dennis, painted blue. It's before they realised it was the Dennis. And the people who owned it restored it, but they didn't know it was a King Alfred bus, so they painted it blue. And then they did a bit of restoration, found a King Alfred ticket, realised it was a King Alfred bus, and after that they painted it green. And that's when it appeared in All Creatures Great and Small. But this is another film, Melvyn, isn't it? I've forgotten what it was. Some sort of spy thriller or something. But there's our Dennis on the TV. So that, ladies and gentlemen, was 10 years in the life of Friends of King Alfred buses. And what a frenetic 10 years it was, really, wasn't it? As we built up, by the end of that period, we had become noted for being collectors of King Alfred buses. They knew that we were in the game. And after that, we've had 30 more years. So there we go. Ladies and gentlemen, that's that. Let's turn on some lights. And we are really coming towards the end of things now. So thank you very much indeed to all of you for coming tonight and for contributing all that you do to the Friends of King Alfred buses. Shall we see you at the 50th? I think we will. So thank you so much for coming. Thank you for everything, and a very good night and a good journey home. Hi. Right. In the next part of this programme, featuring FoKAB 40, we're going to hear from a wide selection of members of the Friends of King Alfred buses who are going to tell us what FoKAB means to them.